Hey Glass Gang, thanks for tuning in. Today we're taking a look at my human power armor and non-power armor raid commando that I use for the full raid on my PC character. And this is something that I've been using since the update to farm the snake in around a minute and ENO6 in a single stage. I can do both bosses solo with the same build. This build can cripple the snake in the first 10 seconds, and if you want to know more about that, I did leave a link in the description to a video where I covered that more in depth in the description below. I'm using just one weapon with this. It is the Elder's Mark, and it's what I'm going to use for both the power armor and non-PA version of this build that you're going to see in this video. Both builds use the exact same weapon and perk card loadout. The only thing that changes is the armor, naturally because I'm showing you a non-power armor and power armor variant here. And this is a full build guide, so we'll be talking about all that after we get through some testing to show you the survivability and damage output of this build, and how I use it, and where I use the power armor. But before we do, make sure you do the things that need doing. Hit like and subscribe before you forget. It's totally free and it's the best way to show your love and support for Glass Gaming. Thank you so much. Ultrasight Terror solo test. So I start the fight by using Overdrive. This is going to give us more critical attack damage for 3 minutes. And once I start the fight, you're going to notice that I'm targeting plate A on the snake. This is to cripple the snake as soon as possible within the first 10 seconds. This weapon is really good at doing that because it's ballistic, and the snake has been shown to cripple easier to ballistic weapons. It also will take more damage once it's crippled, and it'll throw off its melee and attack cycle from the get-go, giving you more time to do DPS uninterrupted. You'll also notice that I'm not using coffee to help sustain my AP, but I'm using candy. That's right, Nuka-Cola candy and Quantum candy are good enough to sustain VATS with the Elder's Mark because it has such a low AP cost of only 7. And I'll talk more about the reason I switched to candy instead of coffee later in the video, but one of the reasons is, like, for example, if you go up to a coffee machine, there's only 4 coffee in the coffee machine, but if you go up to a candy machine, there's usually 24 candy. So it's a lot more accessible, really. You'll also notice that I'm trying my best to not manually stim. I'm putting all my faith into the Conductor's mod and Born Survivor on the build, and the reason is because if you stim manually, you just lose time. And the Conductor's mod does heal you very well with this build because of its rate of attack on the Elder's Mark. It can heal you through a lot of damage. The only times where it seems to fail is where I'm standing in an acid pool and taking an acid blast at the same time, or poison blast, and that isn't enough health return from conductors to survive those 2 damage sources, so you gotta pay attention to where you're standing at all times. And that's the Ultrasight Snake Terror defeated solo with a non-PA commando build in 1 minute and 10 seconds, and it'll always be around a minute, sometimes faster, sometimes slower, all depends on how many times you end up manually stimming versus not having to, so keep that in mind. Now let's have a look at how I use the build at the ENO6 Guardian, and this is where things get different. So since we can't target the shield anymore through the front of the ENO6 Guardian to do damage to the shield, we have to take down the shield through reflective damage. We have no choice, and the best way to maximize your reflective damage is in power armor. You have 200% more damage from reflect damage over non-PA in power armor. You'll also see that with bullet shield, it gives you more chances to reflect damage and proc ricochet, which is another perk card that I have on the build specifically for the ENO6 Guardian's shield. Once the shield goes down though, it's business as usual. I swap to the Elder's Mark and target the torso and VATS. And right before I do, I'm pretty quick with it because I have Nuka Quantum candy already ready to go in my Pip-Boy, so I'll use a few of them and then mag dump the ENO6 torso. And as you can see, it's very effective at deleting ENO6. And even though it doesn't say 10k damage per shot with this weapon, like some other commando weapons that are popular right now, this weapon just has a very high rate of fire and very large magazine capacity, which means you don't have to reload so much and you can just keep doing DPS. Times will kind of be all over the place with ENO6 because of how Ricochet works at taking down the shield. It really is RNG, and sometimes it comes down really fast, sometimes it does not come down really fast. So times will always vary between 1 minute and 1 minute 30 on this build at ENO6 because of that. These are the weapons I'm using with the build. I'm using an Elder's Mark with the Quad, Rapid, VATS Optimized, and Conductor's Legendary mods. I'm also using the Standard Receiver, Short Light Barrel, Recoil Compensating Stock, Medium Quick Eject Drum, and Glow Sights with the Suppressor mod. This is to lower AP costs, as with the glow sights, it will reduce your AP costs with these mods down to 7 AP, and increase VATS accuracy. Both are good for our VATS build, and it also lets us get away with not having to use coffee with this build. We can just use stuff like Nuka-Cola candy instead, because it has a high enough AP regen to sustain us infinitely in VATS with just consuming a few of them. And because this is enough to sustain the Elder's Mark, I feel like this is the new meta option for AP regen and VATS for Commando users that have low AP costs like this, because you don't need coffee and you can get away with using candy if you have a lot in the meantime and stock up and save up your coffee. Now you'll have to consume more candy than coffee, but it's a lot easier to get the candy than coffee, but you can use either. You can use coffee as well. You can find up to 24 candies per candy machine and only 4 coffee per coffee machine, so that's why I feel like it's the most efficient tactic available. Like with all my meta build guides, I'm optimizing for efficiency here while also being able to stay toe-to-toe with the most optimized damaged builds that are out there. So this is really a blend between efficiency and high output damage. Since I'm not using buffs like Black-Eyed Susan Sudin or magazines here with this one, I feel like it's really attainable for the majority player base and a lot more efficient. This is what I use to take down the shield. It's a Vampire's Explosive, a lightweight accelerated minigun. However, since recording that run, I have switched to this other flamer instead, and you can use something like a Holy Fire if you want to. I feel like this flamer is working better, possibly because it's applying the cripple effect damage from the crippling mod to the shield in the reflective damage. It is taking the shield down quicker using this weapon, so I wanted to throw this one up there. This is the armor I'm using, and I'll start with the non-power armor build. For the non-power armor version of the armor set, I'm using a full set of Overeater Civil Engineer, and this is so that my weapons break 35% slower with the set bonus. And that's because the Elder's Mark breaks really fast with the rapid mod. So I like to have it not break on me while I'm fighting. I do know that you get a lot of repair kits through the raids, but I don't like to have my weapons break on me often, so the less it happens, the better, especially during bossing. I also have +2 endurance to make me tankier and to make my cards under endurance that scale off of endurance a lot more effective. I'm also using through hikers, but you could use sentinels instead if you don't want to use through hiker, if you have the access to the first aid box, the chem box that's new this season, and then limit breaking on every piece as well. So this is for reducing the cost of critical hits by 10%, up to 50% on full stacks, so that we get a critical shot sooner. And you'll see that my critical hits in the video, they proc very fast, and that's because I'm holding the button down. I'm holding the critical attack button while I'm using the weapon in VATS, because I won't be able to spam it fast enough to use a crit when it's ready. On the chest is where things get a little different. I do have powered instead of endurance, and this is because I also have Pack-in Light on the build, which is a perk card that increases your AP regen speed if you're not encumbered. And I feel like just that with powered, it feels almost as good as a full set of powered. So I'm comfortable with that AP regen, and it's really good, especially if you combine it with Company T, which I'm not even doing here. Now limit breaking, I already mentioned, but the other thing I wanted to mention was the jetpack. I do have jetpack. You might feel like you want something else there, that's fine, do you. I like having a jetpack because at stage 4 in the raids with the poison damage that's there, I just like being above it and being able to jetpack above it and stuff, and so that's why I have it. A non-PA build is not complete without the under armor that we're using. I'm using Brotherhood of Steel infantry uniform for +3 charisma, +3 intelligence, and +1 luck. This is mainly for my intelligence build, but you can use the shielded Vault 76 under armor if you want. It'll give you more luck, but either will work great. This is the power armor set I'm using at ENO 6, and I also use this for stage 3. It's a full set of troubleshooters mixed with +2 luck and powered, and the +2 luck just helps us get more ricochet to reflect damage to ENO 6. I also have the VATS matrix overlay on the helmet to improve VATS accuracy. And it's also a Through Hiker's limit breaking set. You can run this with Sentinels instead of Through Hikers as well. So it also uses the same per card loadout, which we are about to jump into. Let me know if you have any questions. One thing I do need to touch on is the fact that it has medic pump on chest. That's very important. And what I do is I only have Stimpack supers because even if you have your Stimpack priority in your settings set to strongest first, anything that isn't manual stimming will use whatever Stimpacks you have on you first. So by only having Stimpack supers on you, it forces medic pump to only use Stimpack supers, which will save your life. These are the special points you'll need to invest in the build, and this goes for both the non-PA and PA versions. 5 strength, 13 perception, 6 endurance, 3 charisma, 4 intelligence, 13 agility, and 12 luck. This is the per card loadout for the snake that I run with my non-PA setup. Bringing the big guns, under strength, bullet storm, and lock and load. Under perception, we have number cruncher, downranger, tank killer, center masochist, green thumb, and concentrated fire. Green thumb is because I don't want to keep having to equip this to farm my blight soup. There's tons of blight outside of the raids, and I just run around and pick it as I need it and cook it to get 125% more crit damage bonus. Life giver under endurance, iron stomach, natural resistance. This is super important and is why I'm running +2 endurance on the armor at the snake, is because you have increased elemental resistances based on endurance while not diseased, and poison is part of that. So this is a very good card to have that scales off of your endurance. So the higher your endurance, the more effective this is. We have Thirst Quencher, Starch Jeans, Ironclad, and Chem Fiend. Under Charisma, we have Strange in Numbers, Tenderizer. In Intelligence, we have First Aid and Field Surgeon, and Gunsmith at 1 rank, although you could move this point into Strength if you wanted to run a 1-star Arms Keeper if you need to, but that's up to you. I just like my Elder's Mark not breaking so much. Under Agility, I have Gunslinger, Gunslinger Expert, Gorilla, Gorilla Master, and Packing Light. This is what I mentioned earlier. I use in combination with 1 powered mod on the chest of each of the armor sets, and it gives me just the right amount of AP regen. I don't even feel like I need Company Tea, but you can add Company Tea with it in the mix and it will make it even better. Born Survivor. Under Luck, we have Better Criticals, Ricochet, 4-Leaf Clover, Class Freak, Curator, Critical Savvy, and Quick Hands. Now I wish this would proc more, but it's definitely noticeable when it does. I don't think it did at all during the testing that I have in this clip, but when it does, you have an 18% chance to instantly reload your clip when it goes empty. So that's why I just pull the trigger until all the rounds are done. So, and if you reload with this perk card, you don't lose your Bullet Storm stacks. So it's pretty good right now to use this card with Bullet Storm. So for EN06, the only difference isn't even that big of a difference. I just swap out Ironclad and Chem Fiend for a 4-rank Bullet Shield and 1-rank Ironclad. And this is so that my Ricochet procs more and I get a 20% deflect chance for 6 seconds when firing a heavy gun, so that I can use my heavy gun to take down the shield a lot faster and then switch to my Elders to finish off EN06. So that's it. That's the only difference in the build. It is the exact same build and loadout as the first one that I showed you for non-PA. These are the legendary perk cards. I have a rank 3 legendary luck, 3 rank legendary perception, rank 4 legendary endurance, 3 rank legendary agility, full rank taking 1 for the team, and another rank 3 legendary strength. And And this is for both the non-PA and power armor setup, so really the only thing that I do between these two builds throughout the raids is swap those two cards and jump in and out of the power armor. That's the only difference. These are my buffs and mutations. I'm using Overdrive, which gives me 15% more damage and 30% critical damage for 3 minutes. Blight Soup, which on a team will give me 125% crit damage as long as the teammates, or at least one other teammate, is mutated too, which most people are. Most people run around with Marsupial or Speed Demon. And these are my mutations: Bird Bones, Eagle Eyes, Herbivore, Herd Mentality, Marsupial, and Speed Demon. You can also throw Adrenal Reaction mutation in there if you want to. Let me know if you have any questions about anything you saw in the video. Also, leave a like as it helps the channel grow. I'm Miss Glass, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. GG!